Okay.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Okay.
Some people let me know they would be coming in, trickling in a little bit late, so we'll have a little bit more people joining, but I didn't want have you guys sitting there in the.
I just watched the Stax documentary.
Hmm.
I think it's on HBO.
That
And
was
when I
excellent.
jumped on here, right next to each other was Sam and Dave. So it made me think of, maybe you guys will perform some of your hits from your Stax days.
I had no idea
She's on
the
the.
hits they had. I had no idea.
Well, you better get practicing, Sam.
Right. We had some big shoes to fill.
Come on, guys. No.
I'll practice my I got my two-step down, that's for sure.
That's so good.
You said not so good.
No, that's so good. I love this. Okay, so I just sent the agenda. And you guys were able to look at the meeting minutes, right?
Yep.
How did that how does the new format work for you guys? I know we talked about it a little bit, Mari and Suzanne, but I found that it was a little better in identifying some action items.
I thought they were easy to read.
Okay, so we get a general, a quick motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so did I send the agenda? I don't think I did. I think I sent something else entirely. Yeah. Okay. Right, here we go. This is the agenda. Just keep like that to open it. Okay, so this is a short agenda. Obviously I following the conversation and that we had in our last meeting where we were discussing how we needed more capacity. I went ahead and I set up a meeting between the co-chairs, between Amari and Suzanne and the chief of environment, energy and open space, as well as Chris Osgood, who has been very helpful in listening and coordinating with us. So I've done that. I connected with Nat about seeing if Ellen Harrison would be willing to come by one of our meetings to talk
Aaron
about.
Johnson.
Yeah. Aaron Harrison.
I said, she moved to London.
Did she?
Yeah. I mentioned that in our last meeting.
You did. Well, we'll see. Not here, but he offered to connect us. And then the last thing that we talked about in
You
the
can ask
previous.
Nat now. Nat is
No,
here.
yeah, exactly. I said, no, he just emailed me about connecting with Ellen Harrison. So
Yeah,
or
I'm
Harren
sorry.
Ellington, sorry.
Yeah, I apologize. I dropped the ball on that, and so I have now reached out, and I will try to set up a time to connect if
She
she's
did move
willing.
to London, right?
I don't know.
Yes, she did.
You were the one who mentioned that, so
Yeah.
she may not wish to be involved any longer.
No.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so then those were the things that we were talking about that were quick and doable. The last thing that we identified were coming up with audiences and themes. But I think audiences was the main thing, the people that we want to cater certain things to. So that's one thing, but the other thing is with that meeting that we set up with the chief, I wanted to open the floor to have a conversation about what specifically we're looking for in terms of staffing capacity. because I'll provide some updates about what they're doing with the staff. So obviously we know Murray left his role in July, and so they have posted the the Office of Historic Preservation Director role. And they're interviewing people there, and they're hoping to have somebody sometime this fall. And then they are creating, well, they're rearranging the executive director of the Boston Landmarks Commission role to be a deputy director role. So it's providing support not just to the Landmarks Commission, but to, I guess, in effect, to provide extra support to me, to the Commemoration Commission, and to the office in general. I think that's a big role. That's gonna be a tough one to balance, I think. And then the third role that they have added is, it was kind of an architectural historian role, but now it's more like preservation project coordinator potentially. So it's somebody who will probably help the landmarks team, the history and survey team with their landmarking process, because they've been getting a lot of study reports and landmarks pushed through this year, and they want to continue that momentum, but also have someone who can start thinking about projects that I guess the Office of Historic Preservation should undertake. So I wanted to give that update, and I also wanted to open the floor to have a discussion about what we want to make sure that that gets addressed in that meeting with the chief. You know, 'cause it's only the chairs, but I did want to open that to you guys.
I'll throw something out. I always wondered why, sorry, Hennessy, not for you too. Because you applied for the position and got it, thankfully, but why it's housed where it's housed and not in the mayor's office of tourism, sports and entertainment, or even arts and culture, but mainly I think mayor's office of tourism, sports and entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this before, because it of course makes sense and aligns with the state having it under their tourism office. They have the ability to execute things, so. yeah.
Does the commission know about, our commemorations commission know about the 250th anniversary kickoff the governor is doing next Tuesday?
I don't know that we do. I know that we.
Okay. They're shutting down Beacon Street, and they're gonna have a big announcement from the state level about activities statewide. We should know all this, right?
Yeah, we
Suzanne?
should. We should. There needs to be more of a connection between the state's doing and what the city's doing.
Dave,
I have
does Meet Boston know about it?
I learned about it last week because
Okay.
I'm on that committee as well, and I asked
Right.
them to send me the invite, which they actually just have.
Okay.
So it's at 11 a.m., I believe, and it's
Right.
the launch of the marketing side of Mass 250. So they unveiled that markup and logo at the governor's conference earlier this year. But what they're going to be revealing next week is like some of the other creative. I'm sure they won't get too in the weeds on like where media buys are happening, but hopefully they give some indication of what they're trying to accomplish with some of the out of home stuff they're doing. And then the
grant
main,
funds.
yes. But then also Suzanne, I think, again, revisiting that pillar of like our first 250 was this, what are the next 250? And they're really trying to lead into that idea of pioneering spirit and not sitting here looking back, but like using it as a moment to look forward. But like, and I don't know if John's not on this call, is he?
No.
John Borders. Okay. So I know that he has from earlier calls advocated for us trying to figure out our place within that brand umbrella. And, I think we've discussed a little bit, but I think just knowing that these events are happening and having the Commonwealth tell us, as opposed to us reporting it, Suzanne, as effective as that is, like there needs to be more of a streamlined communication there,
course,
especially if we're still trying to figure out our own branding and bandwidth. We need to be plugged in what the state is doing.
You mean You mean, oh, the city and the state need to be plugged in together.
Yeah, yeah, like there needs to, like, I just think that, you know, and this all relates back to the big questions of like, what are we doing here? And what is the subcommittee expected to do without Hennessy having more support and more idea of tangible budget and personnel to support her? And it ties right to like, and are we trying to carve out a brand identity for Boston 250 that, you know, is distinct from Mass 250, or does it make sense under that umbrella? And I know Director Borders has always thought the latter, that it makes sense under that umbrella. Suzanne, you and Amari, Hennessy, I don't know what you guys think about that, but like that could be another, just having better communication between what they're doing, which is certainly no one's fault here. If anything, it's my fault because I'm on both committees. You know, just figuring that out in a more streamlined way, I think, is important now that we're getting, you know, what was the milestone recently? We're within 250 days of Lexington and Concord. So I know that's not Boston, but you know, it's go time.
Hennessy, when can you just kind of, and forgive me if I missed this, but can you just kind of walk us through who who do you report our activities to, and then who does that report to? I guess my question is this: uh, who from the city is talking with the state? How often are they talking? In what manner are they talking? How is the information that the things that we're working on? I already see some faces, but
Sorry,
like
Sam.
that's no, that's okay. How is the information that the things that we're working on being brought up the chain of command so that the state knows, okay, the city of Boston's um, commemoration commission is working on X, Y, and Z. We should keep them involved in A, B, and C. I would love to kind of know where those collaboration points are.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say that the collaboration point where that happens most is with that internal 250th group. So I go to them, I report things, and they are made up of it's Chief Shagun, John Borders, some people from Neighborhood Services, Arts and Culture, BPL, the Chief of Environment, Energy and Open Space, so anything that's like OHP, and some partnerships people. So it's like Stephen Chan, and they are, I think, the ones that are reporting back and having those conversations with the state.
So is this internal group meeting regularly, Hennessy?
It's meeting regularly now. Yeah, we started meeting once a month as of not too long ago. Like,
And pardon me, everyone, why isn't there somebody else on our meetings from that 250th internal group?
I mean, when you think about it, they kind of are all supposed to be part of this meeting because every person who is on that, or at least half of the people who are on that are on this commission and subcommittee.
All right, so Kara and John are on our committee, correct?
Mhm.
And Suzanne, I guess the other piece of it is those of us like us that are on both commissions. You know, like I certainly in that last meeting with Kate, like spoke up and said, there needs to be more connection with what the city is doing. Like, how do we get the city involved in understanding so that we can make important determinations, which is what led her to be like, well, we're doing this thing she'd already announced that they were doing the thing on the 17th, but ensuring that she would, send me the invite, which I just got yesterday. I put it in the chat for next week. You'll see the RSVP information you have till Monday. But I think that's the other critical point or piece of it, right, Suzanne, is that if we're on, that we can be conduits as well.
Okay, so I just got an email back from Sheila Green. The mayor is attending the kickoff on the 17th. And she said to go ahead and share. I asked if we could share the invitation with the Boston Commemorations Committee. So Hennessy, the invitation that's in the chat should be sent out to all Boston Commemorations Committee members, not just this subcommittee. And the internal group, which, presumably now they know the mayor's going and they'll be there as well. You're muted.
I'm sorry. I send that after this meeting and I'll make sure that everybody, both internal and the commission gets it.
I sent you the creative for it too, Hennessy, just now in your inbox. The invitation, I should say, the creative invitation. Yes.
Yes. Oh, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if I could report a little bit on the granting of the, you know, the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism. I know there's a number of us that have applied for those funds for the 250th. And you know, I think what I have understood is most of the applications were programmatic. I applied for a marketing grant. Just so that we can get the city going on marketing the 250th, and would work with the city, obviously, Hennessy, you know what the application said, and all of the stakeholders to make sure that the city's branding is out there, front and center. But I did also hear that out of the 172 applications they received for the $1.5 million, it was over $8 million of asks. So it's going to be probably very small grants for a lot of different entities.
Suzanne, this is for the second round or that first round?
It was the one that was just due, you know,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
the FY25 grant.
We did get one of the first round ones.
Right. This is the one that everyone just applied to again.
Yeah, I think we probably threw our name in a hat too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, at least there's some funding coming, right?
That's good to know. I wanted to, Dave mentioned something about the staffing capacity. And I wanted to bring it back to that. I know I discussed a little bit about those roles, but you know, I have been asking how that internal group can work better with supporting and or, you know, collaborating with this commission. You know, in lieu of having people who work for the commission like I do. But I did want to open that conversation again so that we could identify what exactly the staffing capacity we would like to see. And I say that because when I brought this up to the chief, he wanted to know what exactly we feel is missing and what capacity would help us do, and what that would look like.
Well, at least I'll go again. At least it should be what it's stated in the ordinance or the, what do you call it? With the extra staff person or two half staff persons. Hennessy, you do an awful lot of administrative work, just keeping us meeting, and you know, it's a lot to do, and then minutes and agendas and voting and RSVPs and all that kind of stuff takes a lot of time. So I assume that, you know, you're spending an awful lot of time at your desk doing that kind of work. So somebody that could do that for you so that you could be out possibly working with people in the community would be good.
My question is, if they're gonna pull other staff into this, what is the percentage of time that they're gonna allot for this, right? So it's one thing to say, well, what does the commission think, or how many different staff people does the commission think that we need? I mean, honestly, we could give you any number of people. The more people you get, the better this thing's gonna be. But if that's not feasible, what's the percentage of time that he's willing to pull people off of something onto this? I think at minimum, anyone who's pulled off of some other projects onto this, it almost feels like at this point, it needs to be 25% of people's time. Or make a detail. I don't know if the city of Boston does detail. I come from DC, where there's federal government, so people do details all the time. Or do details for 90 to 120 days to get certain tasks or projects fully completed. But I think it's got to be a meaningful shift in staff hours available to support the work around the 250th commission, part of the commission.
And then also just the whole notion of like what resources are available to Hennessy with even with added personnel to create like a go-to-market plan for it, right? So like I felt like our last conversation, it was kind of both. Like the commission was, this subcommittee, I should say, was kind of saying, unless there's a commitment to equip you with more like supporting staff, but also a budget that allows you to take a vision and get after it from a brand marketing standpoint, it's like what's the point? And like I feel like from the beginning there's been this chicken and the egg argument where it's like, well, you tell us what kind of marketing plan you want and we'll allocate budget, and us being like, well, we need to know what kind of budget we have before we know what we can get after, right? So like for example, on the 17th, when whoever's able to make it to the State House and they talk about Mass 250, they've been working with Proverb on branding and now on media buying for over a year, right? They're going to talk about all this splashy, like out of home stuff they're doing in like Times Square and like digital banner ads and social media buys. Like, and maybe it's not the charge of this subcommittee, but like, there's not even the capacity to start really thinking about, what kind of brand marketing campaign should be rolled out, like what our recommendation would be without you having those two key resources, right? Support from a personnel standpoint, an idea of what budget you're even working with. So yeah, like, I don't know, maybe in a way it'll be constructive for the mayor and others to see on Saturday, or pardon me, on Tuesday, like what the state's doing. Cause it takes a plan and it takes partners, like Proverb to do these sort of things. Yeah.
I think I feel like we go around on this conversation all the time, but I think it is useful to try to be specific. So I think it's a good question that the chief asked. So this group, right, we're convening occasionally for a few hours at a time. We are in a position to provide conceptual input and hopefully a conceptual framework, but that getting that to a detailed implementable plan requires a significant amount of work between conversations for those ideas to be turned into something tangible that can be brought back to the commission to review and respond to. And you simply do not have the bandwidth to do that. And I think also there are various kinds of specific expertise, whether it's in marketing or event planning or whatever it may be, that is going to be required in order to translate the sort of conversation and consensus, hopefully, that emerges out of this group into something that is useful enough to be actual advice to the mayor, which is ultimately our charge, is to advise the mayor, right? So that's a missing capacity, and that is what I think is needed in terms of staffing. And then we've already articulated another missing element, which has us frozen to some extent, which is just uncertainty about the level of funding commitment that the city can or would like to make to this undertaking. And I think I'd just like to say out loud another piece, which is probably superordinate to the funding that is missing, which is any guidance regarding strategy from City of Boston leadership. And I think, it's complicated because I do think that they're like, we are charged with presenting a plan, but that plan doesn't have clear success measures. Like, how will we know that the plan is a good plan? What are we going to measure it against? There's some guardrails that are in the written ordinance, but they're not really a strategy, right? I think what we are most fundamentally missing is a sense from leadership at the cabinet level in the city that what we would like to do with the 250 250th is achieve X, Y, and Z? Is it drive visitation to Boston? Is it drive visitation to neighborhoods in Boston that are not normally a focus of tourism? Is it engage constituents in a wide range of neighborhoods and develop a sense of shared ownership of this history, not just the revolutionary period, but all that flows from it, because it's a mechanism for gluing our community together? We need a sense that we are serving a strategy, but it's not our job to create that strategy. And right now, I don't think there's anybody in the absence of Councillor Bach, who was the driving force behind getting this ordinance in place, who really sees this as an opportunity to advance a priority. So I don't think we can get to something that will be useful to anybody without that piece. And they all come from one another, right? So if there's a sense that there's a strategy that we can leverage the 250th to accomplish something that matters to city leadership, that will inform knowledge of how many resources do we think we want to devote to this? And that will help us understand the level of staffing necessary in order to build a robust plan that can deliver successfully on that strategy. So I'm happy to try to articulate that when we meet with the chief, but I'm skeptical that we're going to get anywhere. I don't see that we're likely to get a strategy associated with this clearly articulated. So that's my concern.
Yeah,
I-
I can, sorry. Yeah, I can speak to that a little, in that internal 250 group is working on a memo. Because I said that I let them know that I think that they think the city doesn't seem to be doing anything, and there will be an expectation that the city has some ownership over this. So they are creating a Boston 250th memo to the mayor, in which they are going to talk about stakeholder perspectives, proposed role for the city, recommended activations, like from the city, and recommended structural approaches. So they introduced that to us, I think it was late last month, if not earlier this month. And I'm hoping to set up another session with them so that we can edit it and discuss it, so that I can present it to you all either at the subcommittee meetings or at the larger commission meeting, so that you guys can provide feedback and
Are
and
you
actually-
drafting it or somebody else?
somebody else is drafting it. It's the partnerships team in the mayor's office. And yeah, so they're working on something specific. So I think it's helpful that it's, the partnerships groups, they are the ones who are connected to, who are, making sure that they're connected to the state, and getting together these cohesive structures. So that's something I can update on. And I think in terms of that, what you said, not about not being able to lay any groundwork on something that's detailed. I think the response to that is going to be this, what was mentioned in the July commission meeting, which was to explore other configurations of the commemoration commission. So we met with the law department. They drew up some legal opinions on either becoming an advisory committee or that second option that we were discussing, which was to have an overarching commission with a smaller quorum, and then have the subcommittee meetings not be beholden to, or the subcommittees not be beholden to open meeting law, or to be beholden to being a commission and not subject to open meeting law. Then we could potentially have a meeting where it's about, we're doing work sessions, and then we're able to follow up outside of these meetings through email. Because that's been one of our biggest barriers, is that we're not allowed to have serial communication through email, because it's not properly noticed. And that if we are supposed to be planning and recommending and making these recommendations after we've done all this thought, all this work, we can't do that without without being able to send each other an email to say, hey, this is a good idea. So those are some of the things that I think that they would mention regardless.
Yeah, I just, and thank you for that, Hennessy. I just wanted to underline what Nat just said. Also, and I think, without repeating myself, without repeating what he just said, if we were of the same disciplinary background, this might be potentially an easier exercise, even in this committee. The fact that this is a transdisciplinary group of people and the individuals potentially who have the power to execute it internally are not here makes it a lot more difficult. And, if all of us were racial equity, we would probably have a strategy from the perspective of this committee's charge that would be rooted in racial equity. And there's some of us here who are tourism people, and if we were all tourism people, we would have done that. Or if we were all artists, we would, but it's because it's transdisciplinary and because the chiefs or the individuals, at least internally, are not here. Without an overarching strategy, we have the same meeting on this is difficult to do because no one wants to, because we all have full-time jobs. And if it was a job to present an equity strategy from the point of view of this committee's charge, and then someone else were to marble that, integrate that with a tourism, with a policy, with a this, that, or the third, it might be easy to do. But the time it would take me to do that with folks who are from that type of discipline would, it's my job to do that. And so other than advise, I'm not sure we have enough capacity in the staff expertise to even integrate what an equity perspective would be with a tourism perspective, even if I were to write it down in 10 pages. So I think that's the frustration and the challenge. And those are just two, this group is like 20 distinct disciplines of folks with different level of expertise. And I know that it's not mutually exclusive. Some folks have like 5 or 6. It's just that it's too many for us to do that without someone writing this down for us to even recommend something that's in the form of a report.
I agree. And I think, in that memo that I'm working on, another thing that I was thinking about was that in that internal stakeholder group that currently exists, I think there just needs to be a better mechanism for that group with potentially more internal city partners to be a connective tissue to the subcommittee. Because it's one thing for them, to make their plans, and then I have to go in the meetings and I give my my updates and my suggestions. And it's another thing to have a group of people who are working on 250 stuff and that are connecting with the subcommittee, that are saying, here are the things that the city is thinking about. What do you guys think about? Here are, can you guys recommend something? Can you guys work on this thing? I just think that there's an opportunity for these, at the very least, these internal, groups to be much more effective in collaborating with the commission. Because right now, to me, it kind of feels like a slap in the face, that this group is getting together and meeting and essentially, doing the work that you guys are supposed to be advising on, that you guys are spending so much time, that we are spending so much time working on. And then, it never truly, I don't think, gets effectively communicated, and I don't think that you guys, as much as I can, give updates from that, I don't think it's enough effective engagement.
So can I make a suggestion to get back to the chief's request, which is we need, in order for this commission, and this is based off of feedback that everybody's given, based off of everything we've said here today, in order for this commission subcommittee to function effectively, essentially the city needs to pull together city employees that is the city equivalent of this subcommittee, and that they are doing the work. Now, whether it's the city's determination to decide if you're hiring, if you're doing details, if you're changing staff dedicated time, but there needs to be, I think, a minimum of 3 people, and that's only because we got events, trails, and exhibits. Probably should be 5 to 6 people devoted to that, and that their responsibility is to actually do the work around this. And then our expectation will be that at these regular meetings, they present work that they've done, questions they have, opportunities and things like that, like Amari suggested. And then what we can then do is respond to something. I think that's a good model for all the other subcommittees. And for this subcommittee in particular, we have another piece that we need that's way more unique is the marketing. So you have to have 2 people devoted, at minimum of 2 people devoted to marketing. Now, what that looks like in total number of hours per employee, I don't know, but it needs to be a significant part of their time and a significant part of how their role is described and evaluated according to whatever the city's performance management system is. I feel like that's the most tangible way that we can articulate what our needs are, because we're going to keep spinning these wheels for the next year and a half. And that's not fair to anybody, but I think that articulates very clearly what this group of people needs, because you have a wealth of knowledge and experience here, of various skill levels on this call, and we can do a lot. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. I completely agree. I think it makes sense. And so because we don't have that much on the agenda, I did just want to have this conversation and open it up, because we are, you're right, always having this conversation. And I'm hoping that we can have it this one time, bring it and escalate it and have something happen, have something move. So I have written down all of your comments. I'm actually gonna probably work on transcribing this week so that we can have it ready for next week. And that way we have a document to review that has essentially everything that we've been saying, but with action items on them. And so that being said, I think we have enough action items, but I did want to open it up for, because I don't have anything else for you guys, but if there are anything else that you think we should be putting on here as things to think about for next steps.
Come on up. Here, hi, how's everybody? I have a lot of energy, I will about this. And when I was appointed to look, and every one of us has different disciplines and different art. Latino. I felt, that I would be able to, as a catalyst, offer ideas in the general sense, but also be active, very willing. And I think to be active in the area that I know best. And that is the Latino community, Hispanic community. I've spent decades here. I know all the media and I've got, so on. And also I have a whole bunch of ideas that we can set as that I would like to get started in the implementation in many ways, like growing partners when we're going to do our marketing and so on. I can be helpful, and then all the people that I would love to start communicating with and getting them involved are mainly in the Latino community. I will concentrate. I guess everybody that was appointed for a particular inclusion, or they will be able to bring that strongly, organizations and so on. But I sometimes I have a problem identifying what things can I, like for instance, marketing. I have a number of ideas, bringing all, you know, and I've done this for other events, all the Latino press things, having them ready, saying, hey, listen, we're working on this 250 and this is it, and we're going to be involved. What do you guys think? And then, you know, even partnering with other Latinos, and so I'm a little parochially because that's the area that I can help, and saying, you know, the Latino sale and incorporate it to the state, but then all the Boston, like also partnering with all the consulates. We have a number of consulates here, making sure they're aware, because at this point we're going to do all of this outreach to all of these that makes, you know, our city. But I'd like to know where who I can speak to say, listen, that I start doing this outreach or whatever, so that we can prepare to use whatever resource we get or partnerships and so on ready, and you know, to anything. Even we want to develop a logo, right? How do we get the idea of Latino? How, and so on, you know. And if we all did this, the artists will be represented, and the folks that are here, which is clearly specified, that you get people that are experts in those areas, then we can put it all together and have a fantastic thing. Like with all of the employees from the city, I know clearly, you know, the folks that have been there and all the new ones. I try to keep in touch. I go there all, that have a tremendous energy, and see how we can start, you know, I have a number of things we can implement. You know, we have a whole bunch of places, statues and markers and things that are all over the city, that we could be promoting that and incorporating into the total story. So I'd like to know who and where can I come and maybe get a feedback or whatever back and forth, because I'm full of energy for this and I'm so excited, you know, to do this. And I want to make sure we do it right, because we are the beacon and in so many ways. You know, I love the city and what it represents. And so I'm excited. I'm ready to go. And so that's it.
Well said. Okay, so I mean, that's all I had. I just wanted to have this session so that we could, you know, create a document where we more thoroughly discuss our concerns. But you know, that's it. But if there's anything else we think that, you know, we should discuss or we should work on for the next meeting, let me know. If not, we can end early. All right.
Adjourn.
Thank you. Get a second.
Aye.
All right. Thanks,
Wait,
guys.
there's no member of the public here, right? We don't have to offer people an opportunity to do public testimony. All right, good. All right, thanks, everybody.
Aye.